Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Bison video blog, Missour Valley Conference Opener Week. Along with Jeff Kolpack, I'm Izzo. We've been waiting for this game probably since the last game ended, as Northern Iowa and North Dakota State slated to go on Saturday night in Cedar Falls. I know that they play for the marker with South Dakota State, and I've never seen a UND game, but I have seen the 5 previous matches between these two schools, and it is a fabulous game, Jeff.
I think it goes back to the 70s for a lot of the older generation, but this is the game, I think. You're right. It has a little more, I'm going to say a little more spice to it.
A little juice to it.
Especially with the recruiting battles over the Twin Cities kids. We've said it before, if you can win the recruiting battle of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area kids, you can win this game. Now, I think the team that was most saddened to see NDSU go to Division I in 2002, and looking back at it, was Northern Iowa, because they had absolutely carte blanche to all these kids. The number of 1AAs actively recruiting the Twin Cities, before NDSU and now UND, South Dakota State, was really not a lot when you think about it.
And that was Northern Iowa. And we can go back just to last year when NDSU started to win the recruiting battle. They won the game. You look at their defensive starters. I pick out 7 guys from Levon Perry, Cole Jurek, Grant Olson, Carlton Littlejohn, Andre Martin obviously played at UNI, and Marcus Williams. All of them were talked to by the Panthers and are now playing for the Bison.
And those are 7 guys that, in all probability, you figure maybe most of them would be in a Northern Iowa uniform if it wasn't for NDSU's Division I move.
And let's just go back the short history of this rivalry. 2010, the last time the Bison played at Cedar Falls. That might have been the watershed moment, Jeff, for the Bison for the last couple of years. They were sacked 11 times in that game, negative 40 rushing yards. After that, Craig Bohl blows up the offensive line. Jose Moeller got hurt, and then Brock Jensen was inserted in as the starting quarterback. And everything since then has been completely 180 in this game.
That was the last time NDSU was really taken on the shorts. And you think about it in Craig Bohl's 10 years, there hasn't really been a lot of watershed moments, like you said. I can think of Cal Poly back in the transition years, 05 or 04, something like that, where Ramses Barden just walked all over like a man against children.
We just did that against the Carolina Panthers, by the way, too. So
NDSU wasn't alone.
Not at all.
But Bobby Babbage and the cornerback wasn't alone, is what you're saying. And there's not that many moments getting back to where NDSU is really taking on the chin. That was one of them, and the growth that program has had since that game has really been remarkable if you think about it.
It's scary to think, though, the Bison only lost that game 16-9. They had chances to win that game all the way down to the very end, and they were manhandled throughout that entire game.
How does that happen?
I don't get it.
It's really a weird moment in football.
Yeah.
If you were to watch that game tape and look back at all the defensive line pressure and poor Jose running for his life all game, to have a chance to win the game was just remarkable.
Now, flip it from last year, the Bison flipped the script, Jeff. They ran for 145 yards. DJ McNorton and Sam O'Jury were great, and the Bison won. Brock Jensen went 22 of 25. This is his first time starting at Northern Iowa. How do you think he reacts to that on Saturday night?
Well, he's a veteran presence, obviously. And let's go back to that last game 2 years ago. I thought that's where NDSU really learned its lesson that this team needs to get bigger physically, needs to get more powerful, needs to get stronger. And I think they displayed that last year against UNI. It's the first time those teams have matched up since they started playing in the Division I era, where NDSU had a definite advantage in those facets of the game.
Now, Mark Farley, UNI's head coach, when we asked him what was the difference between 2011 and 2010, he simply said because the Bison were at home. Do you think that will be the deciding factor here on Saturday night?
Well, no, I think the better team's going to win on Saturday night. I think NDSU's a dome team. It's a veteran team, even though there's not many seniors. It's a veteran team that can handle noise. If NDSU plays well, if they take care of the ball, like they have, I think they'll have a very good chance to win.
Craig Bohl said today at his press conference, this is the best team they played all year. Your thoughts about that, considering they beat a Colorado State team?
Yeah, you think about it, who would have a better chance of keeping it close anyway against Iowa and Wisconsin, Colorado State or Northern Iowa? I haven't seen Northern Iowa on tape. He has. He made that judgment, and we'll see. Craig's been burned a little bit with a statement like that before, but he's been right too.
Yep.
It was a couple of years ago, correct?
Yep.
When he called Kansas, wasn't the best team he played. And he was right.
He was right on with that one.
Right on with that
Absolutely.
statement.
One lineup change. Brian Shepard into the lineup at strong safety, replacing Bobby Ullman. Your takeaway from that, seeing that on the depth chart?
Since transferring from Omaha, Brian has just really been
he's taken off.
He has taken off. He's a little stronger, more physical player than I imagined coming from Omaha. A kid who wasn't highly recruited in high school and has just developed.
Varmasoni, Terrell Sinkfield. They know a lot of the Bison players. They know them. They are the two difference makers in my mind coming into this game, along with Carlos Anderson, the top running back from Northern Iowa.
True or false? Is that your question?
I would say, would you agree
Absolutely.
with that? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Marcus and Varmai, two kids who grew up almost in the same area, correct, are two of the best corners in football championship subdivision.
No doubt. You look at this game coming into it, Northern Iowa comes in off a loss to Youngstown State where they lost at the very end of the game in a very controversial way to end the game to Youngstown, 42-35. They're 1-3. They lost to Wisconsin. They lost to Iowa. Is this a must-win for them on Saturday?
Were there replacement refs at the Youngstown game?
you could have made that call because it was definitely not a good call at the end of the game.
Absolutely a must-win game for Northern Iowa. Absolutely 100% positively. If anybody in Northern Iowa disagrees with that, they're lying.
So you're saying at 0-2, 1-4, they're not only out of the league race, but not making the FCS
It's
playoffs.
a long road back, especially with so many teams. South Dakota State making a charge. Yep. Indiana State's out there. Youngstown is behind Northern Iowa. So many teams that, it's a must-win.
For NDSU, is it a must-win? This is the conference opener for them. I guess chance to make a statement that a place they've never won.
No. It's not a must-win. They got Youngstown the next week. Yes. I think they got to split these next two games.
That's the real crux of it here as the Missouri Valley Conference season starts already. Andre Martin, how do you expect he will play? Obviously, he's got a lot in his mind. His wife is expecting their first child this week as well. How do you think he fits in the former UNI transfer?
And, in talking to him this summer and some of the limited contact we've had with him, this kid is solid as they come. I don't see something like this bother him at all. He's maybe 22. He acts like he's 25. Yeah. I mean, he's just a season. It's like he's a seasoned pro. I just don't see a lot of these outside factors getting in his way.
You've been to the Unidome a couple times. Where does this rank, this building, in terms of the places in FCS? It will be loud. It won't be Fargo Dome loud because we expect a lot of Bison fans to be at this game on Saturday.
You're talking about the whole FCS?
I would say, yeah.
I would say NDSU, Montana are right up there in home field advantages for number one, and this has got to be close second or third.
It's going to be a great environment. It's the Missouri Valley opener, and Jeff and I will be there, of course, to cover things on Saturday as NDSU and Northern Iowa set to go here on Saturday.